Alright, well I made some changes that will hopefully make the stream smoother. For some reason it's still dropping 65% of the frames and has a very low bit rate, so I don't know, man. Whatever. Nobody watches this anyway. Sometimes the bitrate just like shoots up suddenly and gets really good for a few seconds, and then I don't know. I don't know if it's my internet, if I just don't have good enough internet to stream video, or I don't think it's my computer, because my like stats and everything seem fine. And like, why is it up now? It's doing, it looks like it's fine, but it's still dropping 50% of the frames. I hate this shit, man. And it's like one of those things where the problem is probably very specific to my setup, and I can't just Google it. Like, why isn't this working? Because there isn't a universal answer. It's just, you have to set it up correctly, and I don't know what's not set up correctly, and I don't know how to answer why it's not set up correctly. I don't know. Whatever. It seems to look fine, like, in the VOD, so it's weird. So like network is only at like 10%. CPU is at 2%. I'm still dropping half of my frames. I mean, I guess network is my modem's power. So maybe my internet just doesn't have good enough upload speed. So yeah, don't know what to do about that. Can't really do anything about that because I can't afford better internet. Like, if it is the internet, I don't understand why it sometimes suddenly shoots up to like 3 or 4 bars. I don't know. Anyway, this room's neat because this curvy path should, if I did it right, be one continuous path. So if I just follow the path, I will end up back at the start. Actually, no, I need to do the doors first. So that when I reach the start, I'll get the little loop. Yeah, it's like one continuous thing. of those mice with like the wrist pad. I'm like hurting my wrist on the edge of the table. I've been playing more Kirby Air Riders, and it's fun, but there is a little bit of like, oh, like Sakurai really did just show us everything that was in the game in those directs. And like, they were long directs, and they showed a lot, but it kind of felt like, I don't know, I didn't think they were showing everything in the game. When they said, these are the last characters that we're going to reveal, I didn't think they... I thought the implication was like, oh, but there are more characters in the game. But no, there aren't more characters. There's one secret character, but they show that character in the trailer. They just don't reveal that it's playable. But it's like a character you probably assumed was, oh yeah, that is an unlockable character. So it was like there's so many other, you know, Kirby characters that people wanted, and it's weird that Adeline isn't in there. I feel like Adeline is one of the most like popular underrepresented characters But I heard it was something like, I don't know, Sakurai doesn't like humanoid characters in the Kirby series, so he kind of... I guess that's why we didn't get Adeline or the Mage Sisters. I don't know. But then, like, Elfilin would have been an obvious character. I don't know. I mean, it is a case of, like, obviously, you can't put everything in the game. There has to be cuts. But there's only, like, what, 20 characters or something? And 20, 20 vehicles. I don't know. It's not nothing, obviously. That is a good roster, especially, you know, when you consider all of the vehicles like have something unique about them, and then like comparing to Mario Kart, which has way more characters and way more vehicles, but all the vehicles and all the characters just kind of alter stats. They don't have special moves and stuff, so that is some good variety, even if the numbers aren't where I would like. But I don't know, it does feel like there are some empty, I don't know, some missed characters, or some missed, like it feels like it's this big celebration of the Kirby franchise, but then it just kind of decides not to celebrate certain aspects of it. So but it is, at least, you know, a lot of people worried it was just going to be Sakurai only acknowledging the Sakurai stuff, like another Sakurai game where, like, basically skips from Kirby's Adventure to Kirby Superstar to Kirby Air Ride, and that's just the whole Kirby series, according to Sakurai. But no, I mean, there is good representation of the Dreamland games and the modern games and stuff, so that's good. But it is still like, okay, but Adeline is a really popular character. It's weird that she's not there. Aside from that, it does, like, I've played the game for, I don't know, probably less than 10 hours at this point, and it feels like there's a lot to do, but so much of the stuff you do is doing the same thing that you've already done. It's like, you know, you're doing City Trials, the big selling point, and it's fun, but it also feels like it's only the one map, and it doesn't change as much. Like, it's not a very big map, and the events kind of aren't as drastic. Like, you know, they get randomized events, and so it'll be like, oh, okay, this time we're fighting Dynablade, and this time we're fighting, or this time we're doing like a race, and, you know, you get like about 3 of those events each game, and then it randomizes the challenge you do at the end, and, you know, that's all cool, that's all fun. But after you play like 10 of them, you're like, okay, I kind of feel like I get it. I kind of feel like I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, and it's fun, but it's, I don't know, I feel like I have experienced everything the game has to offer pretty much. And then there's the road trip mode, which is like, gets feeling real repetitive by the time you beat it once, and then you have to beat it at least twice to get the true ending, and I haven't done that yet. And I don't know, it's sort of, yeah, you're doing these challenges, you're doing these same challenges over and over. Sometimes they'll throw in a little variety, but it's just like, yep, this is what it is. And kind of the kicker is, like, I feel like everyone saw the road trip mode and assumed it was a roguelike and that it would have, like, you know, a lot of replayability. And it kind of doesn't, because it's not a roguelike. It's not randomized. And I have you know, I have had not been subtle about my opinions about roguelikes. I don't really like them. I think they're kind of a way to trick the player into thinking the game has a whole lot of content and a whole lot of stuff to do, as opposed to, you know, my game where I do have a whole lot of content here. It's just not really worth anything because it's just a million buttons. And, you know, but there is no illusion about it. There are, in fact, a million buttons. But yeah, the roguelikes, I always felt like it was kind of a cheap way to make a game bigger without actually investing the time and effort into making those like all the content actually good. Like, there's a lot of content, but it's and we made it without, you know, working. I don't want to say without working hard. There obviously, like, a lot goes into like actually making the systems and stuff that create all the randomization and procedural generation and stuff. So, like, I don't want to completely dismiss the entire concept, but it is kind of, has always been, to me, a quantity over quality thing. But the thing about Kirby Air Riders is that I feel like it would work there, like having some, you know, a bunch of modifiers you can apply to different challenges could theoretically create, you know, infinite challenges, and then every time you play the road trip mode, it'll be a different experience. And that's not what that mode is. It's because I've watched, you know, a few streams of people playing it, and it's like, oh, this is playing out like they're getting the exact same challenges I got. This is playing out basically exactly the same way it played out for me. So that's weird. It is kind of, you know, like World of Light and Smash Ultimate, but even that, like, I enjoyed that. I don't know. I felt like those challenges were, like, much shorter, so it didn't feel as repetitive. And it did feel like there was thought that went into, oh, I want to use, you know, this spirit for this challenge and this spirit for this challenge. And at some point it got to this point where it was like, oh, well, this challenge, the map is on fire, so obviously I'm going to use the no fire damage ability. And it did, like, once you had a lot of spirits, it kind of felt like you were just going through the motions. Like, it doesn't matter what the modifier is on this map, I have a spirit to negate that modifier, so I don't have to bother with it. So that's kind of, I don't know, one thing where World of Light kind of missed, I guess. But overall, I enjoyed World of Light. I think, though admittedly, I think a lot of what I liked about World of Light is that you would, like, find, oh, here's this spirit, and then you would, it's like, oh, the spirit is, like, this character, and then you would kind of look at the ways that they arranged the different elements of the game to represent that character and go, oh, I get it, that's neat, that's cute. And, you know, Kirby Air Riders doesn't have that. It's just kind of, you're doing a gourmet race on this track. You're doing a, or a race on this track, or a timed race on this track. Also weird, I don't, like, what is Sakurai's deal with timed challenges? Because, like, in Smash Bros, timed is always the first, like the default game mode. And I don't know a single person who doesn't change it to stock. I guess if you're playing like a 4+ player free-for-all and it's in a party game setting, the and you know, you have items and you're playing wacky matches, I can see where the timed would be more fun, because like it would suck if, I mean, I would say it would suck. It does suck when you're playing and like you get knocked out early in a stock mode and you just have to like watch the other players play. But at the same time, it's like, it's pretty hype too. It's like, oh, there's only 2 people left and everyone's kind of rooting for like whichever other friend didn't kill them. And like there's these sort of like alliances and stuff, and I don't know. Like stock is just the way that everyone I know plays Smash, and it's weird that Sakurai disagrees that stock is the default way to play. He does, you know, you boot the game up and you have to go out of your way to turn it from timed to stock. And so in Kirby Air Riders, there is a, you know, it's a race. Like, it should be who gets to the thing first, who does the number of laps first. That's how races work. But he does a, here we go. 3, 2. He does a timed mode where it's just kind of whoever is in first at the end of the time limit wins, and it's odd. All right, drink some water. And it's not necessarily that I think, like, that mode shouldn't be there or whatever. Like, you know, more options is good. It's just a strange mode. I'm not sure who's going to play it, and I'm not sure why Sakurai is so, kind of big into timed time challenges. Okay. I don't really like time challenges in general, I've realized. That's why I can't do speed running. Every time I've tried to do speed running before, but I just kind of, you know, it's like playing a Metroid game, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go fast, and then, you know, an enemy on the other side of the room drops a missile. I'm like, I'm full on missiles. I don't need a missile. But it's a shiny thing in a video game. Of course I have to go pick it up. And then I get very easily distracted. So I'm not good at speedrunning. It drives me insane when people are speedrunning. And it's like, I know there's a reason they didn't pick that thing up. You know, maybe it's because they have to go out of their way, or maybe there's like in some games there's like, especially older games, there will be a tally at the end of the level where it counts down, oh, you got this many things and we're gonna rack up your points, and so if you get more things, it makes the game take longer, so, you know, players will avoid the things. But I still, you know, watch the speedrunner and I'm like, why are you not getting the shiny things? Get the shiny things. It's a video game. Video games are about getting shiny things. I don't know, at some point video games stopped being about getting shiny things, and that's when society started to crumble. Like, video games, they should be about getting shiny things, and at the end of the game, all of your characters kind of stand like on a cliff, looking dramatically at the villain's keep that you were just in as it crumbles. Like, that's what video games should be. I guess it's a bit hypocritical that I'm saying that as I'm making a game that isn't really either of them. Well, I mean, okay, you're not getting the shiny things, but you're creating the shiny things, and there's a lot of shiny things. Do you think, like, do these technically count as collectibles? Can I, like, take away Donkey Kong 64's Guinness World Record for, like, the most collectibles in a video game? Or whatever that was. This has been a good year for games about getting shiny things. We got Donkey Kong Bonanza, and we got Yooka-Laylee, and DK Bonanza. There's so many shiny things, and also so many things to destroy. And then Yooka-Laylee, they added even more shiny things and made the game better. I don't remember this whole maze. Whatever, just keep on sticking to the wall. I mean, that's the thing with mazes, right? Put your hand on a wall, and keep walking. Every time, you know, if you reach a wall where you've already turned left, you go straight. eventually you'll find your way out. Maybe. Or you just go deeper and deeper. You have to fight the Minotaur. Oh, there it is. Okay, closing in on 3,000 or 30,000. Whatever. Same. What's the difference between 3,000 and 30,000? Is it? I can't do the math to find out. I was gonna make a joke. It was gonna be like, is it? What, 30,000 minus 3,000 would be 27,000? Yeah, 27,000. Like, what's the difference between 30,000 and 3,000? Is it 27,000 or is it 10? I think it's 10, which means there isn't actually a difference because 0 is nothing. That's how math works, you see. It does feel good that so far I haven't run into a single room where I messed up. And it was like every room I've done so far has been fully completable. I haven't kept count of how many rooms I've done, but what is it, 28,000 divided by I think it's about 2,000 to 3,000 per room, so like then 10 or so rooms. Also a couple of rooms where there were 0. Or, like, not 0, but like potentially only one button. Or a handful. But those are mostly early on when I was like still experimenting a bit. So they only kind of count. It is surprisingly easy to get just lost in this game. It's a very... I keep finding myself just kind of... the conscious part of my brain just goes off. And it's just sort of go into a hypnotic button clicking, I don't know, like waking dream almost, where kind of my subconscious is sort of just still running and still sorting things out. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I don't want to oversell the game. It's just kind of an observation. It wasn't intentional. I wasn't making the game. I was making the game want to be frustrating. Because I thought it would be funny to do like one very large, mundane task. But like doing a very mundane task is actually very, like, weirdly soothing. You know, don't think, don't, it doesn't require thinking, it doesn't require, there we go, it doesn't require, reflexes, it's just kind of, just play the game, just click buttons, no thoughts, only buttons. The pyramid room. So where are we with buttons? Are we at 3,000 yet? 30,000 yet? Almost at 30,000. All right. Like when I was testing, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to force myself to play my own game that I intentionally made to be sort of annoying to play. But then today I was like, the reason I started streaming today without even announcing it anywhere is I just wanted to play it. I just wanted to play the game and click more buttons. Which, you know, I could have done without streaming or whatever, I don't know. But I do want to have an archive of, ooh, look, I clicked all the buttons. People say like, oh, did you, every time I show this game off, people are like, oh, have you ever found the button yourself? And I sort of have to explain that, well, yeah, occasionally it pops up in testing, but I'm not really playing legit. I have like my dev cheats and stuff. And also the game's not done yet, but yeah, so like now when people ask me that, I can be like, yes, in fact I streamed it. I found the button and I clicked every button that was in the game up to that point, which was about 200,000, so like, I know the game works. I have proof that, you know, I have played it myself. I'm not asking other people to do something that I haven't done. That does happen to me a lot with my games though, where I get so in the weeds with making the game, and then I sit down and play it, and I'm like, wait, this game's actually pretty good. Like, I lose perspective of what I'm making, and it's hard to, you know, judge it based on, I don't know. It's hard to judge it well, I say objectively, but I don't mean literally objectively, since I don't believe you can actually objectively judge quality, but objectively in the sense that, like, from the perspective of someone who is not already invested in the game because they worked on it. Like, it's hard to play from that perspective. But usually where I would think, like, I am so sick of this game because I've been working on it for so long, and I just kind of want to just not think about it anymore. You know, sometimes I'll sit down, like, usually when I sit down and play one of my games, I'm like, oh, wait, I actually made something pretty good. And, like, even if they're not all successful, it's, I don't know. I can still be happy with the games that I made. Apparently the Avengers Doomsday, like, first trailer or teaser trailer is coming out with, I guess, Avatar 3. I'm a big Marvel fan. Like, you know, I'm not gonna, like, lie about, about that. But I am in a place where I'm like, I am more interested in sort of seeing if they're able to kind of pull things up, like on the business side, than I am actually excited for Doomsday. I think Doomsday will be good. I think there is some, like, some early negativity about, I don't know, like, a lot of things, like, just generally that Marvel hasn't had it together as much after Endgame. You also look at, like, the Russos haven't really had it together. They went and did non-Marvel stuff, and most of it was poorly received. I didn't watch any of it, but, like, most of it was, I think pretty much all of the movies that they've done since Endgame have not been well received. So, you know, bringing them back on, it gives the, like, connection to Endgame and like their Marvel movies are still 4 of the best Marvel movies. So, like, having that connection sounds good on paper, but drink some water. But when it comes with the context of, like, they haven't made anything great since, and they've made quite a few things, it's not quite as exciting as it should be. Now, that said, I do feel like that team of, like, writers and directors and producers, like, bringing back that same creative team, maybe when they're all together in the same room, they'll have, like, that spark again, or, you know, kind of be able to cover each other's weak points. Like, maybe that's why their Marvel movies were so good, but their post-Marvel movies weren't as good. I don't know. And the other thing is, like, bringing back Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom is, like, a lot of people are mad about it. I'm saying let them cook. Maybe they got something, like some sort of plan. And I'm not saying, like, 100% definitely it's going to be amazing. I think RDJ will do a good performance. I'm not certain they'll come up with a like it is definitely a case where, like, of slight desperation. Bringing back RDJ was very much a break glass in case of emergency type move. So, you know, they wound it up, and they wound up at a place where they were in an emergency, where Marvel wasn't doing too hot. They had failed to establish, like, the new characters very well and to get people excited for the new one, and then there was all the stuff with, you know, Jonathan Majors and King, so they had to shift course, and it's like, well, you know, having Doctor Doom in here would make sense, but we haven't established Doctor Doom yet, so how is that going to work? So bringing on an actor that will get people hyped, I don't know. It was definitely a desperation move, but maybe they're cooking. Maybe they have had an idea. So I am willing to let them, willing to see what they do with that. But a lot of people have been very negative about that. And I get it. I get it. You look at that and it's like, oh yeah, this is it could very easily wind up feeling like a Rise of Skywalker type situation, where it's like they got desperate, so they just brought back all the nostalgia bait, and it it was awful, and it didn't please anyone, and it left the movie in an even worse, like, it left Star Wars in an even worse place than it had been. But I don't know. I'm still. I do feel like they know, like, all the guys at Marvel, they know the entire thing is riding on this. Like, this is their chance to kind of right the ship. So I think this is why they're giving the movie, like, number one, they only have two. I need to check that one. I'm not sure I got the whole thing. They only have, what, two movies next year. Like, the only movies that they have announced in general are the 2 Avengers movies and Spider-Man. And apparently there might be a secret one in, or, like, May 2027. But, you know, we'll see. But, and I think the shows are mostly just shows that were already in the works before before, you know, Phase 6 and stuff. But before 2024, like, they took a year off. They took a break off a year. They took a break for a year, mostly, aside from a couple shows and Deadpool and Wolverine. But, like, the main MCU kind of, like, paused a bit after the Marvels flopped so hard. And they sort of, like, reoriented. And, like, most of the shows that are coming up are shows that have been in the works for a while, and that, like, just makes sense to be like, okay, let's just finish these. Like, let's just finish them up and release them. Get them as good as they can. And I feel like a lot of those have turned out decently well. Agatha All Along was great. Marvel Zombies was fun. You know what? I thought Ironheart was alright. I wasn't really feeling it the first half, but then the back half I was like, oh, okay. They're like going down like some dark and tragic stuff. Like, this character is making all of the wrong decisions, and that's interesting. Because, I don't know, it's... I like watching a piece of, like, genre fiction where it's like, okay, here is the correct decision for the hero to make. Like, you, just based on, you are a person who has watched a lot of these kinds of stories, and you know what the correct decision for someone to make is. And what if they don't make that correct decision? What if they make the wrong decisions? Let's see where that goes. So that's interesting. And it kind of, I don't know, it'll suck if we never see that story again. Like, put her in the Young Avengers or Champions or whatever they're going to call it. But overall, I thought that show was alright. I think the only, like, true, like, disastrous mess recently was Captain America 4, which is disappointing because, like, Anthony Mackie deserved better. Like, he's a fun, charismatic guy, and he got just, like, one of the worst. Yeah, that movie was just kind of, like, I don't think anyone, oh, I forgot to get this site again. You know, it was, yeah, that movie was just a mess. And a lot of it was kind of bad circumstances, right? Like, it's, I don't know. I feel like he's kind of cursed because apparently Falcon and Winter Soldier had a similar, like, circumstantial thing where it was going to be, like, a major plot point was going to be a big virus, and then, of course, COVID happened, so they had to, like, re-edit the whole show. Yeah, that one turned out okay until, like, the last few episodes. Alright, time for the big one. But what was I saying? Yeah, so, like, the next few years, like, they're all hands on deck pretty much for making sure these Avengers movies are good. Like, they know that these kind of are, like, if we get a new Brave New World, it's very bad for the MCU. Like, it's basically the worst possible scenario is that Doomsday and Secret Wars are bad and nobody likes them. And at that point, their only potential lifeline going forward is just going all in on X-Men, which I think is the plan anyway. but they're like, that would be starting on a very, very rocky foundation. So, like, when they finally bring the X-Men proper, like we're getting X-Men, the Fox X-Men in the MCU and Doomsday, but when they bring in like the actual MCU X-Men, that needs to be a thing that's like, oh, cool, they're bringing in the they're bringing in, like, they're introducing the actual X-Men to the MCU. Like, if it is a case where people are saying, where the feeling is more like, will the X-Men save the MCU? That is not a good place to kind of start with. People aren't excited to see the X-Men. They are iffy. Ooh, another cool angle. But yeah, like, so they know they need to get this right. So I kind of... And the fact that they delayed it, from, what was it, June to November or December. They delayed it a lot, which tells me they're like, okay, we need to give this movie like as much as we can give it. So yeah. And the other thing is, like, even if they do make a movie though, make a great movie, there's still the possibility that people are just like, you know what, I'm just done with all the Marvel stuff. You know, we had fun with that in the 2010s, but it's just been so it's been so inconsistent since then, and some of it's been really bad, and so yeah. No, one more side. So I am, wait, I want to complete these so I get the blue on the tower, on the pyramid. But yeah, so I'm just kind of like, I am interested in, there we go. I am interested in Doomsday because it's like, I'm a Marvel fan, and I will say I have enjoyed a lot of the stuff that they have put out after Endgame. I think a lot of it's been really fun. And my biggest frustration has been that, like, hey, you've introduced all these fun characters. I want to see them interact with each other. And it's kind of like they haven't really done that. So finally getting in an Avengers movie where we get to see these characters interact, that's exciting. But I'm also just very interested in, like, if they are able to right the ship, because I feel like this is kind of where they need to do that. Because, like, you know, there's a case where a big issue is, like, a big thing that carried the MCU in the Infinity Saga is that people were attached to RDJ as Tony and Chris Evans as Steve, and you know, it was very much a thing that was carried by the characters. And they have not been able to get that connection with the characters with audiences. And I don't think it's because the characters aren't good, because there are a lot of good characters. I think Anthony Mackie is a very charismatic and fun actor, and his Sam, like, people like Sam in the previous movies, but he hasn't really gotten a chance to be a good Captain America. So I think they're going in, like, for example, like, people are going in, I think people are going to go see Avengers Doomsday because it will have been 7 years since the last Avengers movie, and I do think people will be like, alright, you know what, I'll give this one a shot, even if I haven't been watching the Marvel movies. But I do think they are going to be going in, like, very skeptical of, like, well, I don't know about this Captain America. I heard his movie was pretty bad, and, you know, the show was like 5 years ago and it wasn't very good. And so I feel like a big thing with Doomsday is that on top of, you know, needing to just be a good movie, it needs to be a movie where, like, someone goes in, like, walks in and they're kind of skeptical about Sam as Captain America, and then they walk out and it's like, oh, it's ridiculous that I ever felt that way. He's a good, like, he works in this, like, he's a good Captain America. And they just, like, really need to get people on board with the characters. Because I do think they have had a lot of characters. There's just a lot of good characters in the whole multiverse saga. They just haven't given them a chance to shine. Like, I mean, Kamala Khan is just the highlight of anything she's in. From, you know, the Marvels, Miss Marvel, her show, and Marvel Zombies. The problem is, like, her show was kind of, had some fun parts, but overall kind of was pretty weak. And The Marvels is very famously the biggest flop the MCU has ever seen. Like, the first genuine flop, I think, because, like, you know, people will point to the Eternals, but it's like, look, that came out kind of during COVID. It did okay considering. And there have been other movies that have underperformed a bit, but The Marvels just kind of completely, like, flopped. And you know, it has been said that, well, a big issue was that, like, the strike was going on, so that the actors didn't get to do press for it, and that is, like, that didn't help, but I think just generally it was very, even if they had been able to, it wouldn't have made it a success. Because I actually kind of like that movie. I think it was alright, but it kind of highlights some of the best and worst of the MCU. And that, like, there were some very fun moments, there were some very fun character dynamics, and there were, but there was, like, a very weak plot. One of the weakest villains in the MCU. And yeah, it's like firmly kind of, I don't know, a 7 out of 10 for me. And then there are moments that are like a 10 out of 10 in that movie. It's like the Cats moment cracks me up. but it was like another case of like, okay, Kamala Khan is a great character, and like without her in that character, it would be like a 4 out of 10. Without Kamala in that movie, it would be like a 4 out of 10. But she is just like such a fun and charismatic character with just like the perfect actress that just putting her in a movie makes it better. And it just sucks that they keep putting her in stuff that isn't the best the MCU has to offer. She's had, like, Kamala Khan, like, as a character, has just had, like, some really bad luck. Because it was, like, her and Miles Morales were kind of the big, like, Marvel's big new characters of the 2010s, and they were very popular and very successful in the comics. And just kind of like both of those characters have had wildly different luck breaking into the mainstream, because Miles, like, he got into, like, he had the Spider-Verse movies, which were just fantastic, and it's like changed the animation industry, and just, yeah, were just incredible movies. And then he got into the very popular and successful Insomniac Spider-Man games. And so he is, like, at this point where he's not as popular as Peter, but the fact that he's, like, in the conversation, that if you, like, if a kid says their favorite superhero is Spider-Man, there's a decent chance they mean Miles. That they're not even, like, he is popular enough that, you know, a lot of people don't even feel the need to specify the other Spider-Man. It's like, so, yeah. But then Kamala Khan, on the other hand, like, she got, you know, I've talked about how rough her transition into the movies was. They kind of they changed her powers in the show. And a lot of people think that's because it, you know, they wanted to save the stretchy powers for Mr. Fantastic. I don't think that's why they did it. I think it's just that stretchy powers are really hard to do in live action, and without a solid budget, it looks bad. Even with a solid budget, like, it's still very easy to make it not look good. Like, I think, you know, in the Fantastic Four, like, compare any Fantastic Four movie, even the newest one, to, like, The Incredibles and what they did with Elastigirl in that movie. It's just like, that is just a power that works better in animation. And it's very hard to do in live action without... It's very hard to do in live action, period. And especially, you know, they were making the Ms. Marvel show on a TV budget, so even like the Disney Plus TV budget was... They had to make sacrifices and changes, and, you know, compared to like She-Hulk, where they just didn't have the budget to do, like, when they announced that show, I was like, are you sure you want to do this as a show? Because, like, that is going to be either a CGI heavy character, or you're getting a very large woman, or like something. And yeah, so they went the CGI route, and it very famously didn't work out very well. And I'm saying this as someone who liked the show. I liked the She-Hulk show. I thought it was fun. I liked the characters. I liked the idea of a sitcom in the MCU. But, like, you know, I'm not gonna act like the CGI wasn't an issue. Like, it's definitely one of those things where it's like, it's a fun show, but yeah, you kind of gotta accept that it kind of looks bad when she turns into She-Hulk. So it was, you know, to avoid a similar issue, they changed Ms. Marvel's powers to the energy constructs, and a lot of people are really mad about that. Honestly, I don't really care. I love Ms. Marvel in the comics. I think her powers are funny in the comics, but that's not why I like the character. I think they, like, her powers really work in the comics because they let her express her playfulness. And the way she does that in the comics is by, like, making her fist real big and punching a dude in the face. She is kind of cartoony in the comics, or I don't know. Like, just the stretchiness kind of emphasizes, like, her personality. And I feel like the glowy constructs let her be playful in a similar way. Like, the way that she kind of, instead of, you know, her way of getting around in the comics is she makes her legs really long and just walks. And the way she gets around in, you know, the MCU version is that she creates platforms and jumps along them like she's playing a video game. And I think that's fun. I just think like, a big issue is she hasn't really gotten a chance to actually use those powers very much, because on the show she was still learning to use her powers by the end of the show, and then in the Marvels she couldn't use her powers for much of the movie because it would, like, swap places with the other characters. And they did some fun stuff in Marvel Zombies, but that's animation, so I don't know. One thing that comes up occasionally when talking about, like, the power change is, I think, like, people who, okay, I don't want to, like, make total broad accusations, but it feels like people who haven't actually read the comics, like, repeating a comment that they've heard, like, oh no, Ms. Marvel's powers are actually extremely important to her character arc in the comics because you know, when she first gets it, she uses it to shapeshift into, like, a white blonde girl, and this is actually, like, very important about, like, her coming to terms with, like, coming to believe in herself and that she doesn't have to be someone else to be, you know, Jersey City's hero. And, like, I get that line of thought. The thing is, her power isn't shape-shifting. That was her power. Her power is like, stretching and growing, and part of that originally was shape-shifting, but she used it a couple of times, and then they actually wrote that power out, like, specifically and explicitly. There's an issue where she, like, tries to shapeshift, and someone says, and she can't, and then they kind of, like, I think it's Bruno, like, analyzes her DNA or something. It's like, oh yeah, because you've been stretching so much, your molecules have sort of, like, your healing factor or something has solidified, so you can't do the shape-shifting thing anymore. And, like, you know, in universe, it's just kind of an excuse. Outside of the universe, I think it was just that, like, G. Willow Wilson decided that wasn't an interesting power for the character to have. Because, like I said, she's a playful character. She uses her powers in playful ways. And the shape-shifting is more of a sneaky power. And Kamala Khan isn't a sneaky character. She is a very big personality and just kind of... She's, you know, having fun being a superhero. Sometimes she gets serious. She can get serious when she has to. She has dramatic moments, but she is... I don't know. The shape-shifting just doesn't really fit the other aspects of her character, so they wrote it out, and it's not really... I don't know. So the people who are like, that is why it's bad that they changed her powers. Like, I get where you're coming from if you haven't read the comics and you don't know that she can't actually shapeshift anymore. But yeah, Kamala Khan was fun. Kate Bishop is fun. Like, Moon Knight is fun. Oscar Isaac has said some things about his unhappiness with Disney recently, so we'll see if that character ever appears. I think, like, you know, She-Hulk, regardless of what you think about the show and what, you know, the writing, like what direction the writing took her character. I know some people got very upset about certain scenes in that show and certain things the character said. Like, she is a very talented actress. God, her name is slipping my mind. But yeah, she's a very good actress who did the character very well. But she also is an actress who may not be appearing in the Disney project again due to having... I don't know. She said some stuff during the strike that sounds like it may have upset some of the higher-ups at Disney, and I could definitely see them saying, well, your show wasn't successful, so we're not bringing you back. When in reality, it's like, they're not bringing her back because that's just the excuse. They have a justification for not being happy with the actress. But that would be a bummer, because I think she's a fun character. And like, if we never get that She-Hulk and Deadpool interacting, that would really suck. Because you have these two characters who have the power to break the fourth wall and talk to the audience. And one of them is just very not normal about it. What else? Yeah, so just like, if they can get people in seats and give these characters, you know, an opportunity to shine, I feel like they can get people back on board the MCU. But that is all kind of... It's easy to say, make a good movie with characters people like. It's a lot harder to do that, because it's like, yes, duh, obviously you want to make a good movie with characters that people like. That is what most people who make movies are trying to do. It's harder to actually do that. But the MCU succeeded at it so consistently for such a long time. Like, that was the thing, is that, like, if you went to see a Marvel movie, it's like, you generally knew there was a very high chance you would get a movie that was, at the very least, pretty fun, with some likable characters. And I think we reached a point where that stopped being enough, and B, the Marvel movies weren't consistently delivering that. Alright, is this the final pillar? I don't know. I'm very... Yeah, I mean, like I've said, I think I've said a few times, I'm very interested to see, like, if they can pull it off. They are definitely aware that they have made a lot of mistakes. They are definitely aware of what mistakes they have made. And they know they're kind of... Ugh. Oh no, I dropped my pad. Ugh. My thing that I'm using from my wrist. They know that they need to earn people's interest back. They went into, the post-endgame stuff kind of assuming that they didn't need to earn people's interest. That, like, oh, everybody's gonna come see every Marvel thing, so we can just make whatever. And then that approach sort of lost people's interest. So I definitely think they know that they are starting off on the back foot. And it's not even... Because the MCU started off, like, at a weak place. Because there was this kind of thought of, like... Who cares about Iron Man and Captain America and Thor and the Avengers? Which is... If you're not old enough to remember, those characters were not A-listers before the MCU. Like, the fact that Marvel didn't have Spider-Man and the X-Men was really rough. Even, like, Daredevil and the Fantastic Four, they didn't have those. Like, the only character in those, like, that first batch of movies, like that phase 1, that was, like, legitimately, like, well-known and popular was Hulk. And a lot of that was, I don't want to say a lot of that, but, like, a lot of the pop cultural interpretation of Hulk came from the Lou Ferrigno show. But even that, they didn't have, like, full rights to it because of, I think it was Universal. So that's, like, why we haven't gotten a Hulk movie. But it's like, yeah, like, going into the MCU, it was like they were trying to make people care about characters that were C-listers at best. That if you didn't read the comics, there's a good chance you thought Iron Man was just a robot guy, not a rich guy in a suit. And if you didn't read the comics, you probably thought that like Captain America was this like super ultra embarrassing patriotic guy, not a guy who has frequently like symbolized the divide between the American dream and the American reality. Like he's a character who has frequently come into conflict with the US government throughout his history, but you probably wouldn't know that if you look at him. He's a guy who is called Captain America, and he wears red, white, and blue, and has these stars, and has a shield with a big old star on it. So, and then Thor was just like, oh, like, the Norse god? I mean, I guess that's cool. It's a Marvel character. But then the MCU kind of made people care about those characters. But like before it came out, there was definitely this vibe of like, who cares about these characters? It was kind of there was a lot of interest, like from you know, people who like superheroes, about just the concept of a connected movie universe, because it's something that had been teased for years. Like, and I think it was Batman and Robin. Was it Batman and Robin or Batman Forever? There's a moment where Batman says, "This is why Superman works alone," and it just kind of it was intended as just a joke, just a one-off joke, but as a kid, I was like, oh, Superman exists in this universe. Like, they share a universe. We should get a movie where they hang out and do stuff. And like that, just because they do it in the comics, but it's just like the idea of doing it in a movie seemed like something that wouldn't happen. So like having that name drop was like, whoa, that is something that actually could happen. And then of course that didn't happen. But then like a few years later, there was, you know, I Am Legend had this big old poster for the Batman and Superman movie, and it's like, oh my god, that's a thing that could happen. Like they know that's a thing that we want, but they're not giving it to us. And then what else? Like in Daredevil, I think it's like one of the characters, I think it was Ben Urich, says something about like, oh yeah, over in like the stuff is so crazy these days. We've got spider people, and we've got green guys riding around on these gliders or something. Like, he says something that very specifically references the Spider-Man movies that were coming out at the time. And I didn't kind of understand at the time, but these were like, they didn't have like, they were different studios, so like that wasn't actually teasing a team up, that was just them doing a shout out to a movie that everyone saw. But at the time, it was like, oh, Spider-Man exists in this universe. I want Daredevil and Spider-Man to team up. That would be so cool to see in a movie. And then that never happened. Still hasn't happened. What else? Of course, there was a bit in Spider-Man 2 where they're trying to name Doc Ock, and JJ's like pitching ideas. He says, Doctor Strange? It's like, oh, that's good, but it's taken. That was another case of like, okay, these characters like share the same universe. Can't we just see them like do stuff together? So like when the MCU came along, there was interest just like around the fact that we were getting that because they knew we wanted that. But there was a bit of skepticism around the fact that they weren't using any of the characters we actually really loved. And then even like before the Avengers came out, like a week before the Avengers came out, there was still like the skepticism of like, is this going to work? This could very easily not work. It's actually very funny in retrospect that there was this idea of like, you can't have 6 main characters teaming up. That's way too many superheroes to have in a movie. And then we get like Infinity War and Endgame where there's just like a million characters. And it just seems quaint to think there was a time when we thought 6 superheroes was too much for a team. But yeah, Avengers came out, it was, it was great, everyone loved it, and it became one of the most successful movies ever, and it just kind of instantly the script kind of flipped, where it was like, okay, now everyone loves the interconnected superhero stuff. And like everyone was trying to do these interconnected movie universes, but nobody was doing it as well as Marvel. I think the only one that like really succeeded was the Monsterverse, and even that is only like kind of, because they did what, like 3, they had 2 solo Godzilla movies and 1 solo Kong movie, and it's just been like Godzilla and Kong ever since. So okay, so this area is tricky because it's a sneaky maze. If I walk through here, oh, I come back out here. So it's a, yeah, so I go through, there's an 8, there was a 9 in that room, there's an 8 to kind of indicate that, okay, there's a countdown going on. Where are we at? 35,000? Sure, let's keep going. I'm going for 2 hours. Yeah, so I was saying, like, the MCU kind of started as the underdogs, because it was like, is this concept even going to work, especially since they're using characters nobody cares about yet? And then they made it work, and then everyone loved the MCU for about a decade, and then it started to fall apart, and now they're kind of like in a place that's similar to where they started, but even worse off in a way, because like at the start they had to prove themselves, but now they have to like win, like winning people over the first time when they kind of are sort of curious is hard, but it's harder to win people back after you've lost them. Let's see. What's the best angle to take these? think this was good. I don't know. But I think they definitely know that they are kind of... I was gonna say they're underdogs. They are kind of underdogs, but they are also... They're weirdly simultaneously underdogs, but also the kind of like at the beginning they were underdogs. But now the MCU is in this case where it's like they are back to being underdogs, but they are also the sports team who kept winning so much, and you're so sick of seeing them win, you just, a lot of people are rooting them for them to fail just because, you know, I don't really follow sports very much, so, I mean, I say very much, I don't follow sports at all, but I have seen that happen quite a few times. Like, I have heard about teams that people are just, like, so sick of winning. Like, the Yankees, I think, are one of them. I don't know if that's still the case, but I just remember there was a time when everyone hated the Yankees because they just kept winning. And it wasn't fun to watch them win. So, like, Marvel is kind of weirdly in the situation where they are simultaneously in that situation where a lot of people are kind of sick of, you know, all the Marvel stuff and are rooting for Marvel to finally fail and for superhero movies in general to fail. But at the same time, they are in an underdog position where people have lost interest and they're trying to get, you know, regain audience trust. So yeah. But I'm definitely in a case where it's like, I want to see them pull it together, but I want to see them, like, earn it. If that makes sense. Like as a fan, it's like, I'm gonna still watch these things until I don't feel like watching them anymore. It's like, but I have enjoyed them enough where I haven't jumped off yet. So, like, I still enjoy them at a higher rate than I don't enjoy it. Like, the only ones I would say that I just straight up outright disliked, I think, would be Ant-Man 3, Quantumania, Secret Invasion, and Captain America 4. I think, like, pretty much everything else I've watched in the MCU, like, I've gotten something out of. Even if they weren't great, it's been like, it was okay. But I do also acknowledge that, like, I am kind of in the minority there. That most people have, like, not enjoyed a lot of the stuff. Like, you know, everyone hated the Eternals, and I thought that was okay. I thought it could have been better, of course, but it was like, they took a big swing and tried to do something different. That was, I don't know, tonally different and sort of like bigger in scope and sort of, I don't know. I thought it was okay. What else? Everyone hates Thor: Love and Thunder, and like, I don't know. I get it. There were disappointments with how they handled certain plot elements and how, like, certain things weren't fleshed out as much as they should be, but and like it's definitely a case where it's like, I can very easily imagine a much better version of that movie, and I think everyone involved wishes that it had been a much better version of that movie. I still enjoyed stuff in it. Like, it sounded like it was definitely a case of sort of, there was some meddling in that movie that they had to cut out stuff, and I don't know, it's like they weren't able to make the movie they wanted to make. And so everyone kind of left that project kind of mad. Which sucks. But I still didn't think it was a terrible movie. I think there were good moments. There were fun character beats. Okay, so there, like, one thing that a lot of people say is like, oh, so the Marvel movies have turned Thor into a complete joke, and he doesn't take anything seriously anymore. And I like, what I like about Love and Thunder is that they kind of explore that a little bit, and it just kind of, people sort of missed it because, I don't know, like that's the biggest complaint about the movie, is that it's like, it's too silly. Thor is too silly, he jokes too much. But there's a moment in the movie where like, he finds out that Jane is going to die if she uses the hammer again. And so he's like very upset, and he punches the vending machine and smashes it open. And then it cuts to him kind of bumbling into the room with Jane where she's in the hospital bed, and he says, like, has an armful of snacks and kind of drops the snacks, says, oh, hey, what do you want? Some idiot, locked all the snacks in this glass box or something. And that moment kind of shows that the jokey Thor we've been getting is a mask that he puts on to deal with all the tragedy he's been through, because he was like, I think it's right. There we go. Because he was genuinely upset. Where are we at? 36,000. Let's try to get to... Try to get to 40,000. But yeah, like, I mean, the fact that he was genuinely upset about it, like, he wasn't cracking a joke about it to be silly. He was like putting on this he was putting on a mask. He was making a joke because that's how he is coping with all of the loss that he's experienced, because he lost his parents, he lost Loki. You know, and in this movie, he lost Jane after, you know, after finding her again and kind of reconnecting with her. Yeah. So, yeah, I kind of like that about Love and Thunder, that it kind of recontextualized, like, why why he suddenly got so jokey. And I also appreciate it, like, I don't know, there was this, like, another criticism is that, like, oh, it got even more silly than Ragnarok. But I weirdly thought they balanced it better than Ragnarok, because when I think about Ragnarok, I think about, like, that moment at the end where Korg is like, and we have been, you know, Ragnarok will be reborn as, I don't know. He says something silly. But then not Ragnarok, like, Asgard will be reborn as the place for all people. And then Asgard explodes. It's like, and I always thought that was kind of like a great example of the common MCU, like, undercutting the dramatic moment with a punchline thing that everyone complains about. And so I appreciated that Love and Thunder kind of avoided that for its similar moment at the very end, where it lets that moment where, like, Thor thinks he's going to die, and he knows that Jane is going to die. It lets that moment have the impact that it should. He kind of just says, okay, I'm going to be with the person I love, and he just sits with her, and they kind of talk a bit, and you know, have a sort of tragic, bittersweet final moment together. And there isn't a joke that undercuts the moment. They let that be a bittersweet moment. I don't know. All that said, it's like, yeah, it definitely could have been a better movie. I think the like the gore stuff and the Jane stuff generally should have been in a much more like, those are two darker stories, and, well, for one, smashing them together in a story where that just didn't have enough runtime to really fully explore both of them, that was a mistake. And then also sticking them, like, such dark stories into a movie that kind of bounces between a very silly tone and a very dramatic tone was maybe not the best choice. It It is funny how, you know, Avengers Endgame left off with Thor going off to join the like the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then like both James Gunn and is that going up? It is going up, right? Yeah. Like James Gunn and Taika Waititi were both like, we don't actually like that. So, like that is a very comic book thing to happen. Where, like, one writer sets up one plot thread, and then another writer is just like, nope, I don't like that. I'm going to just immediately resolve that plot thread. Another thing that I find interesting is they did like warm. I might need to stop soon just because it's getting so warm in here because my computer is just like chugging along. Little space heater. Yeah, shortly after Disney bought Marvel, they did Big Hero 6. And it was successful. And like well received and you know, it was successful both commercially and critically. And it, you know, gave them, like, Baymax is a very recognizable character recognizable and merchandisable character. And then they never went to the Marvel well again for some reason to do another Marvel animated movie. I think that's interesting. I feel like there are a lot of Marvel characters who would work well as an animated movie. Probably better than a live-action movie. Well, okay, so one case where they did do another Marvel animated project. It wasn't a movie, but they did Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, and that was like one of my top picks for like if they did another Marvel animated movie. What would work well, and yeah, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. So they did a show. It ran for 2 seasons, and it was great. And it got canceled because I don't know why. It was very, like, I guess just people weren't watching it. But it's like, if people weren't watching it, that is Disney's fault for not marketing well, because it was a really good show. Everyone who watched it liked it. So, like, do better at marketing your high-quality shows. Don't just cancel it. I don't know. Like that would work. I think with his like skyrocketing popularity thanks to Marvel Rivals, I think Jeff would make a very good animated movie. But the problem with Jeff is like you would have to create a lot of the story. You would have to, because he doesn't really have stories. He kind of shows up in other people's stories and just kind of is cute. Or Like his main claim to fame in the comics is the Infinity comic, which plays more like a Sunday funny comic strip, where, like, you know, the comic just kind of starts out, he's in a silly situation, and then some stuff happens and shenanigans happen, but he doesn't really have many traditional story arcs. He doesn't have, like, villains. He has MODOK, who he doesn't like because MODOK created him and presumably was not a good creator. But even then, he hasn't really interacted with MODOK much. Like, he doesn't fight MODOK. Like, the main story in the Infinity comic that involves MODOK is that he finds out, oh, MODOK is making Jeff toys and selling them and profiting off me. And so he, like, goes to find MODOK. And he breaks in, and he sneaks in, and then he sees MODOK, and MODOK is just, like, playing with the Jeff toys. It's like, oh, he just made Jeff toys because he wanted Jeff toys because Jeff is cute. So he's like, okay. And just, like, you know what? Whatever. I'm just gonna leave him. I'm not gonna... Yeah. Because that's the kind of character Jeff is. He's like... He's a little rascal, but he's not mean. But yeah, like, so I think it would be hard to make a story about... It wouldn't be... I don't think it would be hard, but I do think it would require some creativity, obviously, but also just kind of inventing new stuff that was not in the comics, inventing new stories. Like, you wouldn't be adapting a story. But, like, I mean, you know, that's nothing new. Big Hero 6 is very different from the story it was based on, or, like, you know, most of the MCU takes heavy liberties with the characters and the stories. I don't know, my idea for a Jeff movie would be that there's just kind of an established Marvel universe, and Jeff is there, and, like, we just kind of jump in, and we don't try to explain, like, anything about what's going on in the Marvel universe. Like, you know what superheroes are. Kids know what superheroes are. We don't need to explain who Spider-Man and Captain America... Well, maybe Spider-Man wouldn't be there because of rights issues, but, like, we don't need to explain who, like, Captain America and Iron Man are. But I imagine, like, what the movie could be is just, like, there is some conflict going on in the background of the movie, like Ultron's invading or something. And Jeff doesn't care. Jeff is on his own adventure. Like, maybe he saw a fish and he was going to eat a fish, and then a cat swipes the fish and runs away before he can eat it. And so the whole movie is just Jeff chasing after this cat, trying to get the fish back. And in the background, we see just, like, these crazy Avengers battles going on, and Jeff is just, like, doesn't even notice because he's so focused on getting his fish that he wanted to eat. I think you definitely have to have, oh, like, a big thing is, Jeff would not talk. He would make funny noises like he does in Marvel Rivals. And maybe say some general words like he does in Marvel Rivals. But we're not getting a celebrity voice actor to do Jeff. So, like, I feel like that would feel very Secret Life of Pets. And I think it would be wise to avoid feeling like that. But yeah, like, you could have, like, all the well-known Marvel heroes flying around. The other one that I feel like it would easily be compared to is, like, the DC League of Super Pets. That movie was god-awful. I tried to watch it. I made it about 30 minutes, and I was like, wow, this is a really bad movie. So, yeah, you would want to avoid that. You would want to avoid The Secret Life of Pets, but I don't know. I still think it could make for a good movie. Because Jeff is a fun character, and you know, on Disney's end for why this would be a good idea, he is a very marketable character, a very merchandisable character. I think what other characters could be good for, like, animated movies. I mean, it's like pretty much any character could work well for an animated movie, but it's like the way that, you know, Big Hero 6 kind of chose characters in a story that were very obscure was interesting. So, I mean, I'm trying to think, like, because there are so many obscure characters and stories, it would be hard to, like, choose one obscure character or story to adapt. I think Squirrel Girl could maybe be a good, I don't know, maybe not a good animated movie. I think Squirrel Girl could be a good, like, animated sitcom, because she has, like, a good, because that's kind of the vibe that happens in, like, the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, the comic run by Ryan North. Is that it has kind of a slice of life feel to it. She's a college student, and she kind of has this group of friends, and they all get into, like, they're, like, sometimes superhero stuff happens, but sometimes it's focused on college stuff. And, like, they have a really good, like, cast, supporting cast. She's got this group of, like, she's got her main best friend, Nancy, and there's Chipmunk Hunk, and, Koi Boy, and then there's a robot, what sort of robot, a robot with a human brain who used to be who was like created by Hydra, and they reprogram him. His name is Brain Drain, but he goes by Brian and his secret identity. But when he's at school as a very, very normal student, Brian, he like, you can tell like his head is a brain in a jar with floating eyes, but he just like puts a hat on and nobody really notices or comments on it. I like Brian. But yes, Brian is a very normal university student. Anyway. Let's see. Okay. So I think this is the right way. Nope. Oh no. Did I forget? There we go. Okay. I think I'm going to call it here. What did we get to? I mean, almost 40,000? Oh, well. Yeah. Call it here.